Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Business Brews Atlanta edition. You're in for a special treat today. I've got one of my favorite people in the world here with me, Mason Beard. Mason has been a friend of mine for about a decade, a mentor of mine for the same amount of time, one of my co-founders at Immediate, and a multiple time over entrepreneur and angel investor, works with venture capital firms as an LP. This guy has been through a ton, is somebody I call and pick his brain on frequently, multiple times a week. And I'm excited to be able to sit down here and talk to him a little bit for the next few minutes. So Mason, let's get kicked off. Can you tell everybody a little bit about your background, specifically Wellcentive, company that you co-founded, and kind of what that founding story was like?
Sure. I will say that intro made me feel old. I've known him for this long.
20 years.
Back in 18, yeah. So I got my entrepreneurial start in 2005 with Wellcentive, co-founded it with a brother-in-law, and we saw a need in the healthcare industry to do some kind of high-level analytics. And kind of the bet we placed was that the fundamental way doctors get paid, it's going to change. Instead of like a volume-based pay, fee-for-service, we felt like it's going to be more on value and quality. Mm-hmm. And then how do you measure that? Well, how do you measure that? You take in a lot of data from a lot of messy places, and you do a lot of the analytics, and we would send it directly to payers and to our healthcare customers so they can see kind of how they're doing in quality.
And you bootstrapped it for 5 years, is that right?
Bootstrapped it for 5 years, which I think is a very important kind of way to start. And and then we got an A round in 2010, and then a B round in 2013, and then sold it to Philips in 2016. So all those milestones along the way, definitely learned a lot about starting a company and how to scale a company, and now we're working together for Immediate.
When you think back about the team that you built at Wellcentive, and you think about those all-stars, like the key players, and I could name some names that are here with us now because I know they were some of the all-stars, but I know there's a lot of others that aren't with us at Immediate. What are things that you feel like resonate as the people that you picked and said, I want this person to be in the foxhole with me? What are some of the key attributes you saw?
Grit, determination, courage. These are all attributes you look for if it is an industry that is not defined yet, because you got to think on your feet, you got to be creative, and you got to have some grit and determination. It's not like you're out there as a commodity, right? Fighting and looking at features. You got to kind of, be very innovative.
Do you have any scrappy startup stories that pop to mind from your Wellcentive days?
There's a lot. Because we hired from that mold. We basically looked for people that were scrappy. Right. So I said we bootstrapped from 2005 to 2010. 2010, we've got our first, real institutional money. And to set a culture and a tone as we were hiring these people, and these people came from like Fortune 500 companies. I wanted to set a tone that just because you're here, we're going to spend differently.
Right.
We are capital efficient, and I'm a big believer in that. So I remember we went on our first business trip with the CTO and the product manager, and they were like, "Hey, we're hotels." I was like, "I already got it booked. It's okay." And I got this Homewood Suites type thing where we all stayed in the in one room. There's a pull-out couch and like two queens in another room, and they were like, "Where's I was like, "No, this is where we're staying because it costs this much, and getting 3 rooms would cost that much." But so anyway, that kind of set a tone with them, and because it was our culture,
right?
Capital efficiency.
What is it that you look for in companies that you're evaluating?
From a blueprint perspective, if I see a startup that is incredibly capital efficient, they've invested in the right things, right? So the wrong answer that I'm looking for is, look at how much we put into marketing in our story, but then our actual product, it doesn't really hold up. Right. So what I always kind of look for, and it was a blueprint that I didn't say we got it perfect, but we tried to live by it, and I definitely instruct entrepreneurs now to do this. But focus on your product, substance over sizzle, right? So less on the marketing side until you get your product right. Invest in your customer, because what happens is the product will get you to your first customer. and the second and your third. You've got to invest in human capital, in making sure they're happy, they're using the product to its fullest extent, right? If you use Microsoft Excel, what do you use, 40% of it? Right. So every product in the world, you've got to have somebody that, here's a new feature, here's how you roll it out to more and more people. If you make that investment, then you're guaranteeing that you've got reference sites, customers that we love that will talk about us. So then that to me is the blueprint of how you use capital wisely. Then you can start spending real money on marketing and look at these features and everything else. If you flipped that, you're going to get somebody calling in and saying, I want to buy that product, and there's nothing to back it up. You don't have references, it's not going to meet their expectations, and you'll be a flash in the pan.
This has been really good.
That was quick.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for doing this. Let's. I'm gonna wrap up here. Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Business and Brews Atlanta with Mason Beard. So glad being here. Hope you enjoyed that. I get a ton out of these. I know I got a ton out of that, and I appreciate your friendship and leading me. And so we'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much.